Next.
I'd like to say that I'm ashamed that the cuts you have had to go through have been as severe as they have. But my main thing is I want to suggest that look at this room. There's volunteers here that could help. Can you set up a system in your office, somebody who can go out and take reports, who can drive an extra police car around to a situation sometimes where they would help you? There's a lot of people who retired who probably would like to be helpful. And I think that we could set up something within all the three of the chief of police for Redding, for Anderson, and for our sheriff, and maybe for some of you other people. But there could be help. There could be citizens who would help. If you want to set up a system to allow them, maybe they would wear a shirt that says volunteer, and so many days a week they come in like the pink ladies at the hospital.
So our question is why don't we set up an organization, or we have a lot of people that want to volunteer. Some of them are retired, some of them aren't retired, but people want to help. Why don't we set up a system to use these people, utilize these people? And we'll start with the chief from Anderson. We'll work our way down through the California Highway Patrol and then to the sheriff. All
well,
right.
ma'am, just real quick, I want you to know the city of Anderson does have a volunteer patrol program. In fact, I had 10 or 12 of them here, all in uniform tonight, to support law enforcement panel up here. I think time got to them and they went on home. Are any of them still back there, Rocky? Okay, so we do have that. They have uniforms. They're gray uniforms with black pants. They have a specially marked car. They come and do special events. Some of them help just in the office because they don't want to go out on patrol. We've attached them to the neighborhood watch programs. And just on that point, really quick, you're asking, one of the things we're here for tonight is solutions. And one of the solutions is and has to be community partnerships. If you do not form and know your neighbors and start a watch and keep it going, that's the key, then you're doing yourself and your neighborhood a disservice, and we can never help you. We have to partner with you to get that going. And what we do is attach a volunteer to that neighborhood watch, and it continues. And we touch base with them, we patrol their neighborhood, we set up websites with them, password protected, where they feed information, we access it as a police department, we pull stats from that, and we solve crimes in our neighborhoods like that. So I would suggest that maybe if you guys are all looking at a solution for your neighborhood, your little micro community within this community, you need to do that. You need to think about doing that and joining up with it. And we'll take volunteers anytime, ma'am. You want to come to Anderson, I'll sign you up any day.
Oh. Lieutenant Frederick, Acting Commander of the California Highway Patrol Redding Division.
Yes, thanks. The CHP also has a senior volunteer program. Some of our senior volunteers were out in the audience tonight, I saw, who donate thousands of hours at our office doing the menial tasks that we don't want to pay a uniformed officer to do, such as filing tickets, even supporting the officers. You'll see them driving around town, taking our radar trailer to various traffic complaint areas. And I can't tell you the benefit. It's huge. And we are always taking, as Chief Johnson, we are always taking volunteers as well. And we really love our senior volunteers. And then for the younger folks, we also have the Explorer Post, who also donate a vast amount of time and hours so that we can have our officers out on the street and protecting you.
The Shasta County Sheriff's Office has a huge component for volunteers. We also have a citizens volunteer units throughout the county in Fall River, Bernie, Shasta Lake itself, the lake, and then the city of Shasta Lake, Cottonwood, Happy Valley, and Shingletown and Cottonwood. In addition, and they act as our eyes and our ears on patrol, going and doing vacation checks and checks around the neighborhoods. They also work in our records unit, helping file paperwork, special events such as parades, great component of being involved in our community. And think of it as an extension of Neighborhood Watch. They're actually part of Community Watch when they're driving around helping us out, and they have some specially marked vehicles. We have one very dedicated individual. Not only does he volunteer for our Citizens Volunteer Patrol in Shingletown, but he's also a senior volunteer for California Highway Patrol, and he just cannot volunteer enough, so very dedicated to serving the community. Then we have several hundred volunteers in our search and rescue unit, which is comprised of high-angle rescue, call them ground pounders, man trackers, dirt riders, snowmobilers, dive team, and it goes on. And they help us in a variety of search and rescue operations. And even if it's not a search and rescue, they help us on our fires, a lot of times with evacuations and or getting supplies out to the fire, whether it be for lunches or water out to the people that are manning and staffing roadblocks there. So a great component for volunteers to come to work in the sheriff's office. And also we have an Explorer program as well with your Explorer program. And then both departments, Reading Police and Shasta County Sheriff's Office, have a cadet program as well. And then also Melissa Fowler Bradley wanted to say a few comments.
The Superior Court also has a volunteer program, and that doesn't, it isn't limited to just seniors. You may have seen recently on the news where one of the volunteers in our marshal's office was instrumental in saving a man's life on the 3rd floor of the courthouse who had had a massive heart attack. So we encourage people to apply for our volunteer program. And if you are interested, just come to the courthouse to our Human Resources Division, and we'll be happy to give you the paperwork.
Okay, let's throw it back to the chief, and the question is, there's a lot of people that want to volunteer. What kind of volunteer programs do you have, and how can people help?
We have all of our chaplains, our volunteers. There's 8 of them that donate about 12,000 hours a year. Can you guys hear me? Oh.
You gotta get closer.
Sorry. Our chaplain corps, we have a corps of them that donate about 12,000 hours a year. We did a big call for volunteers a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago. We got 15 volunteers. Wanted to start a graffiti group that would go around and remove graffiti with Bob Brandon. We had one guy out of that group that accepted that, and Lynn Harry put in almost 800 hours of volunteerism to the Reading Police Department. And if you see graffiti, call it into the police department because he's caught up and he's looking for work. The guy is absolutely amazing. He does it all on his own time. One of the options that we're looking at that I presented to the city manager and council is looking at a volunteer program to grow and assist the officers. It would be a little bit different than what the others are doing, but I would like to be able to get some volunteers, especially if I have retired law enforcement in the community that have the experience, to come in and take non-emergency police report calls to improve the customer service of our department. That'll work. As long as you're willing to submit to a background, because we've got to give you access to law enforcement computer systems, you're willing to go through the training to learn to write police reports, we're going to be kicking that off here shortly. So we'll make a call, go to Sean Avery, City of Reading Personnel Department, and get Sean. It's one of the things that I'm going to talk to council about that I can do with limited money. The hard part with starting a new program is you're not maintaining certain slots. So that's, if I get, 50 people that want to, or 20 people that want to volunteer to do those, that's 20 backgrounds that have to be done. That's, 60 hours or so of training that we have to give them so that they can handle all the reports and that kind of thing. So we'd have to develop that. We're developing the program, but I want to get that kicked off, relatively shortly so that we can start getting some assistance from our community in that area. And you'd be dispatched to calls for service, and there's some equipment that might come with that. But that's a relatively cheap way that I think we can get some good benefit for the community and improve the customer service of our department.
So you're going to be seeing calls for volunteers. And so you can almost be like the CSO type or in that kind of vein.